Today on Mystifiles. Shape-shifting reptilians, ancient gods, and the lizard people. Who are they, and do they really exist? Or merely creatures from the human imagination in fiction stories? Who are the cults behind them, and are they truly planning to take over planet Earth? You will discover the origins and true identity of the lizard people with pure evidence from ancient cultures and religious pantheons like ancient Egypt, Sumerians, Greek mythologies, and Hinduism. Stay tuned for more in episode 4 of Mystifiles. Before I start, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as it does help me create more content for you. Thank you for joining Mystifiles, a place where we approach to solve the mysteries of life. Our today's topic is a heavy one. Though it might sound silly, but while researching it, it took me to too many different places of the world civilizations. Reptilians, or what I like to call them, the lizard people, and there's a reason why I prefer this name, which I will uncover later. For some, they're just a science fiction character, but for the 4% of Americans, they are part of their reality. Before I delve into the origin of the lizard people, let's define what are they. According to the conspiracy theorist David Icke, whom played a huge part in publicizing the idea, a race of reptilian beings not only invaded Earth, but it also created a genetically modified lizard-human hybrid race called the Babylonian Brotherhood, which is busy plotting a worldwide fascist state. This sinister cabal of global reptilian elites boasts a membership list including former President Barack Obama, Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain, former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, and pop artists like Justin Bieber. 12 million Americans believed in this lizard people conspiracy in 2013 public policy polling survey, but the number is absolutely higher today. Per the theory, bloodthirsty reptilian aliens first arrived on Earth in ancient times. Since then, these beings have been merging with humans through the manipulation of DNA as well as interbreeding with the human population. The goal of this process was to gain control of the world by obtaining positions of power and influence. David Icke proofs are written in form of books, where he describes their traits and behaviors. Common characteristics are low blood pressure, random scars, a great love for space and science, an eye color of green, hazel, or blue which may change at any time, and much more. But that is so generic, and too many people have this kind of traits, so we can't just accuse those people of being reptilians just because they have blue or hazel eyes, which doesn't make sense to me, but let's just continue. Further evidence exists in the form of video. Slowing down or pausing can sometimes reveal a glimpse of individuals shape-shifting, which is also weak evidence, as it might be a video glitch, which is a common technical issue that makes people look like they are shape-shifting. Another proof that Icke claims is the lizard people references with the Bible passages, a serpent tricking Eve into eating the apple, the Nephilim interbreeding with the humans, Satan's characterization as serpent or dragon-like being. But again, those stories were more of symbolic stories, so we can't just prove the existence of reptilians from symbolic stories. This belief system is mainly supported by average Americans. Since they have no considerable control over the economy or government, it's easier to direct mistrust to those in power. Also, out of what I see, most of the believers in such theory are people who are searching for uniqueness and want to attract more attention to their life in general. But at the end, if those reptilians truly exist with such enormous power, what is the point of knowing of their existence if no one can defeat them? Also, if they are truly that powerful, why they can't eliminate the people that claim they are exposing them? Many questions to be raised, but wait for more answers to be revealed. To better understand the riddle, let's delve into the origins of the reptilian theory, whom I had to split it into two main parts, the modern and ancient origin. I found one of the earliest modern writings about the reptilians was in a book called The Secret Doctrine, dating back to 1888 by Russian-born mystic Helena Blavatsky, the founder of Theosophy. And for those who don't know Theosophy, it's a mystery school that studies different religions and spiritualities. She claimed of an ancient race of dragon men from a lost Lemurian continent. According to Madame Blavatsky, the Lemurian culture had existed 14,000 years ago, and the Lemurian people were a race that could lay eggs, had psychic powers, and were bisexual. They were wiped out by a huge catastrophe that also engulfed Atlantis. There's not much of an evidence to her story, but she was one of the earliest to mention them in modern days. Also, if you go forward in the timeline, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 1897 tale of a Romanian vampire who plans to take over London using his renowned shape-shifting abilities, also carries trace of this trope. The Count possesses a number of reptilian qualities from his association with the knightly order of the dragon, from which his name derives, to his cold-blooded nature and talent for shimmying down walls, lizard fashion. Later in the 20th century, the idea of reptilian conspiracy flourished in the fiction of Conan the Barbarian. Creator Robert E. Howard, in his story The Shadow Kingdom, published in Weird Tales in August 1929, this story drew on theosophical ideas of Helena Blavatsky's lost worlds of Atlantis and Lemuria, particularly the ones mentioned in The Secret Doctrine. Howard's serpent men were described as humanoids with human bodies and snake heads, who were able to imitate humans at will and who lived in underground passages and used their shape-changing and mind control abilities to infiltrate humanity. Furthermore, in the 1940s, Maurice Doreal, also known as Claude Duggins, wrote a pamphlet entitled Mysteries of the Gobi that described a serpent race with bodies like men but heads like great snake, and an ability to take human form. These creatures also appeared in Doreal's poem The Emerald Tablets, in which he referred to emerald tablets written by Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. Doreal's ideas came from the Shadow Kingdom, and that, in turn, the Emerald Tablets formed the basis for the conspiracy theorist David Icke's book, Children of the Matrix. So far as you can see, most of the modern origins of the reptilian theory came from fiction books or mystery books that have no tangible evidence. But wait till it gets more exciting. In January 29th, 1934, 5 years after the fictional Conan the Barbarian was written, a man by the name George Warren Shufelt conducted a mining survey in Fort Moore Hill, LA, claiming that he discovered with his X-ray machine a complex labyrinth of underground tunnels that take the shape of a lizard. He later consulted with a Hopi Indian in Arizona about the tunnel and was told that the tunnels are in actuality remains of ancient old city dating back to 5,000 years ago, inhabited by lizard people. The chief, who may or may not have existed, told him of a lost civilization of advanced earthlings known as the lizard people, whose 9-year-olds were as intellectually advanced as college graduates. According to a 1934 article in the Los Angeles Times, Shufelt's lizard people were not the humanoid reptilian aliens popularized by conspiracy theorists like David Icke. Rather, they were a race of exceptional human beings who worshipped the lizard as a symbol of long life and laid out their underground labyrinth in the shape of their favorite reptile. According to Shufelt, the lizard people kept their secrets in a key room near the 2nd Street Tunnel. This underground room contained 37 4-foot-long golden tablets that recorded the history of the ancient Mayans and the origin of the human race. Later on, it turned out that George Warren had made up this story, and he was actually aiming for the treasure hunt, and the excavations showed no evidence of any lizard tunnels. I'll leave you some sources about his full story in the description box. This unique story of the lizard people, presented by the Hopi Indian, for me personally made more sense than the reptilian shape-shifting theory, as I was more curious to learn about them. lizard people as human beings worshipping lizards clicked with me more than the idea of shape-shifting humanoids. So I decided to go way more back in history, which took me to the second part of this episode, the ancient origins of the lizard people. Let's dive into the space-time fabric. Now this will get really interesting and extensive at the same time, so I need you to have your minds pretty focused on this part of the episode. But before I dive into the darkest realms of the rabbit hole, don't forget to leave me a like and share this beautiful knowledge with family and friends. Also, if you are interested in esoteric poetry, my book Spirits Hanged will take you deep into discovering your inner self through surreal spiritual poetry. It's available on Amazon, and I'll leave you the link in the description box. Back to the mystery. One of the most powerful claims that the reptilian theorists have is the pre-Sumerian Ubaid figurines regarding them to real reptilian race, which are humanoid lizards, male and female clay figurines that were found in different postures, dating back to 6500 BC, discovered in 1919 at Tel al-Ubaid archaeological site. Many similar figurines were discovered, including a lizard woman breastfeeding a child. Most of the figurines appear to be wearing a helmet and have some kind of padding on the shoulders with almond-shaped eyes and elongated heads. They appear to have been important to the ancient Ubaidian people. The theorists claim that those are the original reptilian race that lived in the pre-Sumerian era because of how they look similar to reptiles. However, this claim, as much as it seems powerful, it still does not prove that the reptilians exist or existed. The reason I say that is even in modern days we have created many bizarre creatures out of the human imagination. They are everywhere in cartoons and even TV live action shows. There are no reason why figurines can be out of primitive human imagination. Not to forget all the other hybrid ancient gods with animal features, which was spread in almost all ancient human civilizations, starting with the Sumerians, where the serpent was a major symbol used in many societies to represent a number of gods. For example, the Sumerian god Enki, and the snake was used later on as a symbol for the brotherhood of the snake. The Mesopotamians worshipped a serpent god named Ishtaran. It's known that he was a divine judge associated with snakes, and it's possible that he could be depicted partially or fully serpentine form himself. Also, they worshipped Mushmahu, meaning the exalted serpent, who was an ancient Mesopotamian mythological hybrid of a serpent, lion, and bird, sometimes identified with the seven-headed serpent slain by Ninurta in the mythology of the Sumerian period. He is one of the three-horned snakes with his companions Bashmu and Ushmgalu. In the epic of creation, Tiamat, who is primordial goddess of the sea, gives birth to the mythical serpents described as Mushmahu, with sharp teeth, merciless fangs, and instead of blood, she filled their bodies with venom. Also, there is Mushusu, a Mesopotamian guardian snake god. They are presented as having a slender, dog-like body covered in smooth scales with a long neck, a horn, and a forked tongue. Mushusu was viewed as a guardian spirit more than anything, linked closely to Marduk, the chief god of Babylonia, after Marduk defeated it in a battle. The search even took me to too many other civilizations, as we can't just talk about ancient gods without mentioning the ancient Egyptians, where I also learned that there are many other lizard and snake gods worshipped by them. First of all, we need to understand why ancient Egyptians worshipped gods with animal heads. The reason behind that is the cult of animals, whom they started and was widespread in ancient Egypt. Most of the gods were depicted with heads of some animals. Among them was ancient Egyptian god known as Sobek or Sebek. He was depicted with the head of a crocodile on the human body. He was recognized not only as a ruler for the Nile and the lord of its floods, bestowing fertility and abundance, but also as a deity personifying time and eternity. But again, as a reminder, this does not mean that an actual creature existed with a crocodile head. The animal cult was based on the worship of the animal itself, and later they give it human features as a sign of respect and glorification to that animal, or in other terms, their god. Sometimes they did the opposite, where they have a human head on an animal body, which is clearly seen in the ancient Sphinx, depicting the head of a human and the body of a lion. Stay tuned in later episodes where I will delve in more details about the Sphinx. Ancient Egyptians also worshipped Nehebekau, which was the primordial snake god in ancient Egyptian mythology. Although originally considered an evil spirit, he later functions as a funerary god associated with the afterlife. As one of the 42 assessors of Maat, Nehebekau was believed to judge the deceased after death and provide their souls with Ka, the part of the soul that distinguished the living from the dead. Moreover, in the Greek mythology, the Hydra, Greek snake god monster, this monster was made to look like child's play at the hands of the famous Greek hero Hercules. Originally feared as a giant sea serpent with 9 heads, the Hydra was created by Hera with the intent to kill Hercules. Not to forget to mention Medusa, guardian and protectress, was one of the 3 monstrous gorgons, generally described as winged human females with living venomous snakes in place of hair. Those who gazed into her eyes would turn to stone. In addition, there's Asclepius, whom is a hero and god of medicine in ancient Greek religion and mythology. The rod of Asclepius, a snake-entwined staff, similar to the caduceus, remains a symbol of medicine today. And for those of you who do not know, the caduceus is the staff carried by Hermes in Greek mythology and consequently by Hermes Trismegistus in Greco-Egyptian mythology. It's a short staff entwined by 2 serpents, sometimes surmounted by wings. In Roman iconography, was often depicted being carried in the left hand of Mercury, the messenger of the gods. The story doesn't end here, where I also delved into the Hindu mythology and discovered the Nagas, which are divine beings that are half serpent and can assume the form of human or of a snake. They are beneficial deities, though they have proven themselves to be formidable foes throughout mankind in Hinduism. That being said, clear as light, we can see how the lizard people are not actually reptilian humanoids, but in reality, humans worshipping those reptilian gods that are created through their own perception and understanding of godhood. In the past, animals played a huge impact in the human psyche, as ancient humans were at their beginning stages of leaving the nature primitive life and converting into the civilization. So during this conversion point, humans took with them their love and connection to their spirit animals and evolved their consciousness to be able to advance their worship skills by drawings and sculptures. The hybrid god drawings and sculptures are merely a ritualistic and imaginative state of the ancient humans to express their worship and strong connection to nature and other creatures among them. It was not just based on reptiles, where some others chose the cats to worship, others chose birds, some others loved the elephants, and so on. What I'm calling upon in this episode is for all humans who are stuck in the well of ignorance to escape it by the rope of knowledge and understanding. Don't let others fool you by making you believe those drawings and sculptures are associated to a reptilian race, when in reality they are a depiction of gods from the power of primitive human imagination and connectedness to the animal kingdom. As we can see, the more our civilization got advanced, the less there was a connection to those animal gods, and the reason is clear: disconnectedness from nature. However, gods of the civilization have changed for a reason. It's no longer the era of the jungle where the power goes to the most powerful animal to worship. Rather, the power shifted to worship humans, and later the monadic one true mysterious invisible god that has no similarities to anything on earth. I hope this episode brought light into your life, and stay tuned for the next one, where we will uncover the mysteries and riddles of the Sphinx. And the symphony of God continues, an approach to solve the mysteries of life. I am the Mystery Stellar, and you are listening to Mystified. Before I go, I want to give special thanks for those who reach this part of the episode. And if you really like my content, you can either support me by simply clicking the like and share button, or by buying one of my books, which I will leave their links in the description box, or finally by donating on my Patreon or PayPal. Thank you so much.